Animation is everywhere. Now this can be from commercials to even our favorite YouTube videos, or even the shows that we like to watch on a daily. Animation is everywhere, and there's one specific thing that is going on within our Western culture that we don't really have light upon, or we just don't care. And that is Western animation. Western animation is slowly dying, or is dying pretty rapidly, because it is due to the degrading animation quality, the rise in Eastern animation, and as well as the corporation dictatorship. One of the reasons of why it's dying, like I said before, animation quality over the years is just degrading. We're going from 2D to 3D design. Now the reason why we choose 3D design over 2D most of the time, especially in Western animation, it's because 3D design is a lot cheaper than 2D design. According to Revity, a marketing agency geared towards the animation industry, the commodity of these skilled artists have driven up the market in recent years. So the skilled 2D animators will cost more. The factor comes down to the time spent, and traditional 2D takes more time than 3D animation. To put this forward, most of the famous 2D animators will get paid much more due to the fact they know how the physics works and they know how to animate more well than other newly animators that are introduced to the industry. So that's why we usually prefer 3D design, because it's much simpler to work with and it's just a lot cheaper. The other reason of why it is dying as far as the animation quality is degrading is because of the consistent ugly character design. Have you seen the roundedness of every single character I've seen in Western culture? Like, take Rick and Morty, for example. You do realize that it's based around circles most of the time. Take Steven Universe, for example. Again, with the circles. Mostly every single Disney show that is airing right now. Circles. It's all round. Same facial structure. Put up a diagram to show you how similar each facial structure within each show that we have here, at least in the United States, is. It's basically the same facial structure, and it just doesn't look good. I mean, yes, it does to like some kids because they're more appealed towards it, but us as like older audiences that we're also cartoon lovers, we just don't see the appeal to it anymore. We want variety, not similarness, if you get what I mean. Eastern animation is also one big reason why Western animation is slowly declining, and that is due to the fact that Eastern animation is solely anime. Anime is amazing also because of the fact that it's character design. According to Comic Book Resources, a go-to source for geek-related news, discussion, and the geek community, due to limited animation style, Japanese anime can afford to have more detailed character designs, while Western animation keeps things simple, often basing their characters around shapes. Like I said before, the roundedness is the main factor of why Western animation is just doing so poorly, and due to the fact that the character design in anime is more varied, makes anime more appealing to the eye. Besides the whole variety within the character design, there's just more variety. They also state Japanese anime's sheer volume of episodes tend to trump Western animation across the board, with sometimes hundreds of episodes enabling a story to progress through countless story arcs. There's more to watch, which in this day of binge watching and streaming is a solid advantage. So because of the fact that there's more character tropes, there's more variety as far as genre when it comes to animation, you're more likely to watch an anime than a Western animation because of the fact that there's just a lot more storyline within anime and there's just a lot of genres to click off of. So then you're like, I'd rather binge this than this. It's also made faster. They also state by utilizing its limited animation style, Japanese anime is quicker and cheaper for studios to make, allowing them the freedom to pump out episodes at an astounding rate. Now, this can also, not only is it just quote unquote easier to draw, but it's also made by more workers, and technically Japan just has more workers as far as the animation industry goes. And if you search up a lot of animation studios that are in Japan, they just have a lot more workers to work with. Meanwhile, the US has more workers, but they're more working towards 3D animation such as Disney or even Universal. And I'll get to that in a bit throughout my speech. And the last thing of why Western animation is dying is due to the corporation dictatorship. Disney versus the world. Disney basically owns everything, and there's not much to compete with because it's Disney. According to CNBC, the debut of Frozen 2 last weekend combined with the billion-dollar Toy Story 4 means Disney has now garnered more than $1.4 billion in ticket sales from the animated movies so far in 2019. And I will show you a graph in a second of why Disney can't really compete with every other animation industry. And that's mainly because of the fact they just own everything. And the reason why Disney is such a kill factor, especially within the animation industry, they just have more 3D animated type films, and they just own so much of the animation that we watch, such as The Owl House, or even Star vs. the Forces of Evil, or any other Disney-related animation series. It's more geared towards the same type of animation style. The fact that they just don't have many competitions to compete against, and because of that, there's not really a variety of what animators can do, because as much as they want to compete against Disney, they will lose a big cut of their money, because if they make a different series or a different animation with different animation techniques, it's not going to outdo Disney. Disney's probably going to outdo them with another 3D animated film or series. Western animation is dying, and that is a given fact. We need to do something about this, either from the degrading animation quality to the Eastern animation, which anime is probably going to take over the world at one point, or even the corporation dictatorship. I wouldn't be surprised if Disney took over as well. But we need to change animation, especially Western animation, because if we don't figure out these problems, or at least solve them, then I don't think we're going to be seeing much of Western animation for a while.